Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update video, and once again we have another new product coming out. This time it is a Legend of Korra book, and it's called, as you can see here on Amazon, The Legend of Korra and Avatar's Chronicle. It's going to be a hardcover book, and it's coming out 21st of May 2019. We'll get into the description in just a second, but it should be noted here that it is published by Insight Edition, and it's going to be 64 pages. You may already be figuring out what this book is just based on those two factors, because that basically means this is going to be a very similar style of book to Avatar: The Last Airbender Legacy. A fun fact about this book is that more or less when you Google it, the video results, at least, are the first two are actually my review of the book here, and then me talking about the preview pages for this book when they came out. Also, I do remember at the time it was sort of a difficult book to get, especially I think outside of America, so that's why my review, even though I was one of the only people really covering this book, my review is actually a month after the release of this book, because it took me so long to actually get a hold of it, even though I was in communication with the publisher. So that's just a whole different story for another day, how dealing with Inside Editions about that book. But we'll move on. So we have an Avatar's Chronicle here, and we get the description of what it's going to be here. But again, if we know what Legacy is, we pretty much know what this is going to be. But it gives us, I suppose, the structure of this book. So Avatar Korra and her friends chronicle their memories and adventures in this new, fully illustrated scrapbook filled with letters and inserts from your favorite characters. After the time of Avatar Aang, Korra was revealed as the next Avatar. After training with Aang's son Tenzin, Avatar Korra succeeded in the battle to restore peace between the Spirit World and Republic City, though the victories were hard fought. In this fully illustrated scrapbook, Tenzin challenges Korra to chronicle the many trials and lessons she has learned during her time as the Avatar. To complete this task, Korra enlists the help of her many friends and loved ones to share stories, mementos, and artifacts from their many adventures. Readers will discover gorgeous art, inserted posters, special removable keepsakes, photos, and more throughout this book. So immediately, the key things to keep an eye on here are basically inserts. That's what you're going to be buying this book for. As much as they talk about it being fully illustrated and they have a new illustrator, it's not the same team that did the Avatar Legacy book. My interpretation on this is that I don't think the full book will be brand new art. I think they'll use a combination of stock art that we already have, maybe a couple of screenshots from episodes, and a decent amount of new art throughout the book. In terms of the writing, I expect that this book will, like Avatar Legacy, which I'll talk about a little bit later on camera, I suspect this book will be sort of part data book and then part what they say it is in terms of a story kind of perspective, is Korra making a scrapbook, obviously because Tenzin asked her to kind of chronicle her journey. So that's the idea of, like, this book is meant to be an in-universe artifact, that it's a book that Korra is making with the help of her friends, and she's basically getting other people that she knows to help write that. So obviously that means we can assume Korra will write a little bit, Mako will write a little bit, Bolin, Asami. The fact that Tenzin has asked her to make it, I don't know, does that necessarily mean he'll have a role in the book? I assume he'll at least say something. I'd like to assume, given that she says loved ones, that her father Tonraq, or I think especially Senna, her mother, it would be nice to see them kind of have a little bit of a moment in this book. But, you know, just characters that she knows and is close to over the course of the story. So that's what the letters are going to be. As for, I suppose, brief speculation on what I think they could do for Korra, I think we'll get stuff like a pro-bending poster, a flyer for the pro-bending arena, something like that. A Nook-Tuk mover poster, I think, is something that sort of makes sense. A Republic City postcard, that sort of stuff. Because I think a key part of this book is that it is going to be, I think, very Republic City heavy. Because Korra's journey is very much her getting to Republic City, discovering all of that stuff. And so I think a lot of the early sections of the book are going to be like a fact file on Republic City from Korra's perspective, and then other characters filling in the different gaps. Like Lin will probably say stuff about the police force, Mako will probably add in bits about that. I'm interested in this book. I like with Avatar Legacy what it turned out to be. I'd urge people to kind of keep their expectations low on this. It's not going to be filled with, I think, tons of brand new information. I arguably would say it's not going to have anything super substantial in terms of new information. It may, through some of the writing in the book, give extra little bits of context, emotional context, characters saying this is how they feel about a certain thing, that type of thing. But the book definitely is, given that it's only 64 pages, is going to be about those inserts. We're going to get, I assume, somewhere between like 7 to 12 inserts over the course of the book, and they're going to be what is really the core of what the book is. Right now it's fairly expensive, I think, at £19. I think it's $25 on the American Amazon to pre-order it. I think that will come down a good bit by the time the book is actually released. I remember with Avatar Legacy, I really don't remember paying that much for it. I think I probably ended up paying like, I think in or around €15 for the book, and at the moment, like, that converted into euro, £19 would be, you know, close to 25. So I think this is going to come down a good bit before then, and it's going to feel like a little bit of extra value. So this is a book I will continue to cover on my channel when the cover goes live, when they show off preview pages and so on, and I will definitely get the book and do a review of it when it's released in May next year. But yeah, I'm going to quickly switch over and show off a little bit of Avatar Legacy on camera and talk about, basically show you, if you're not familiar with Avatar Legacy, what the book is, to give you a better sense of what this Korra Avatar Chronicles book is going to be. Okay, so I just want to talk a little bit about Avatar Legacy to, again, give you some context about what the Avatar Chronicles book is actually going to be. The dimensions, I don't think I mentioned it in the first part of the video, are going to be the exact same size as this book, which I believe is more or less very similar to the size of like like The Promise Part 1, an individual part of one of the comics. It's not a particularly big book. As I said, it's only 64 pages, but it is hardcover, as you can see here, and it looks fairly nice. It is pretty nicely put together. As I said, it is going to be all about the inserts that you get. So what inserts did actually came with this book? As far as I'm aware, 9 things that you got, including 2 postcards. So we got a Bossing Say postcard, we got a Fire Nation postcard, and Boy in the Iceberg poster. So you can see it's different. It's new art that they made for it, to kind of create like a flyer for the theater and so on. You get the Appa's Missing poster to kind of try and find him. So that's pretty cool. This is probably one of the cooler bits, the Waterbending Scroll. They give you a sort of nice kind of version of that. Flyer for the Jasmine Dragon. Again, it's just kind of paper. It's not super high quality, but it also doesn't feel like super thin. Then they do give you a poster for the fauna of the Earth Kingdom. That just has some of the animals on it. And then in the book, one I didn't want to take out is a little bit of a comic. They give you a couple-page comic of the 100-Year War. Nothing too crazy, it's just kind of a recap. And then, in terms of what's in the actual book, I'll just give you a rough idea of what I'm talking about when I say it's kind of part data book, and then part sort of what the story description of what it is. Avatar Legacy is obviously a scrapbook type thing made for Tenzin, to give to Tenzin when he was younger, to basically reflect on, it says here, from Aang to Tenzin on his 5th birthday. And it's basically described that Aang has put this book together for Tenzin, you know, chronicling him and his friend's journey. And so you get stuff like, you know, Aang writing this letter to Tenzin at the start, and it's definitely in character. It's nice. There's a little bit of emotion in it. Toph, I think, at one point in the book talks to Tenzin as well, but it's nothing crazy, that section. I think the best pages in the book are definitely Katara's couple of pages that she writes to Tenzin, because this one feels so in character from Katara, talking about how emotional it was when they finally, I suppose, had an airbender child and what that meant to Aang and so on. But part of the other, I suppose, problem with the book is that, like, okay, it's a bit recappy, and just the idea of like, oh, here's the water tribe, here is a summary of things, like, this is the Foggy Swamp tribe, this is the Southern Water tribe, the Northern Water tribe. And it's just a very basic description. If you read the Avatar Scrolls books, you know exactly what this information is. Similarly, you know, Air Nomads, they just goes over the different temples and kind of roughly describes kind of little bits and pieces about them. And then look, here's like a fact file on the characters, and as you can see here, they use the most stock pieces of stock art for the characters, and again, a fairly, you know, basic description, but little things like your Uncle Sokka is one of my best friends and stuff like that. But beyond, I think, little bits and pieces like that, the book isn't written to be overly like insightful into the characters' lives when they were older. So I think what to look for in the Korra book is that a lot of the writing is probably going to be the characters reflecting from a post-book 4 perspective on stuff that happened over the course of their journey. But you probably won't get a ton of actual new information. So what we're kind of looking for from a, I suppose, writing perspective is probably going to be more along the lines of, what do the characters say when they reflect on their journey about specific events along the way? What does Mako have to say about this, Bolin about that, and you know, that sort of thing. And then as far as the kind of insert type stuff goes, you know, like, you know, this was okay. I think there's a couple of standout ones, a couple of ones where it's not so great. Just stuff like postcards where, like, do they even use postcards? Does it break the kind of reality of kind of what this book is trying to be? A little bit, but at the same time, they're trying to actually make it so that it is an actual postcard that you can use in real life type thing. Not like there's space for a stamp on the back, I think. I don't know what, you know, the sizes of stamps are different and stuff like that, but you know, it's nice, you know, and this one actually feels like a poster, but it's just the Earth Kingdom fauna and nowhere else. I definitely think the best ones are probably these three. The Boy in the Iceberg poster, the Appa is Lost poster, and the Waterbending Scroll. So what would they have for Korra? As I said in the video, I think a Nook poster, a Pro Bending flyer, the Equalist rally poster could be something nice as well. Those are the ones that make sense from a kind of in-universe perspective. If they wanted to do another kind of missing or wanted poster type thing, we saw Korra have a couple over the course of the series. Asami's on one, Mako, Bolin, they all have a wanted poster at some point during the series. And then I suppose, you know, you could maybe do something Guru Lahima related about like book 3 if you really, really wanted to, a sort of scroll or a poem from him. It's really completely open about what exactly they do, but I assume they will go more down this road where like there will be like a postcard from Republic City, and there will be a little bits and pieces that relate more heavily to Republic City. And then, you know, beyond that, I think that's where it's sort of hard to predict, in that, like, realistically there's probably 4, maybe 5 things where you're like, yeah, they probably will do something like that, and then the rest of them, because there probably is going to be about 9 or 10 in the book, it's much harder to predict. So, yeah, that was just to give you a sense of kind of what sort of a book to expect. Now, obviously, the price of the book, as I said, you know, it lists it here in the back, $25. I ended up getting this for much cheaper, and I think by the time the book is actually at its final price that it'll be available for on Amazon and so on, I think the book is going to be much better, like, value proposition. So that's basically the end of the video. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on the upcoming Legend of Korra Avatar Chronicles and Avatar's Chronicle book. How much similar to Legacy do you think it's going to be? What inserts do you think they'll put in it? And I suppose the main one is that, do you think they'll write it in a way where it's a little bit better done than Legacy, which was sort of disappointing in the end, even though it's still a fairly unique book. So it's definitely one of those ones where I'd remind people that this book actually exists if you don't have it in your collection, and try to get a hold of it for a decent price. Don't overpay for it, because it's not worth that much, but it is a relatively unique book, especially if you don't have any of the Lost Scrolls books. But yeah, that's basically all I wanted to say here in the video, so thanks for watching, and bye.